The scent of lavender wafted through the air as I crossed the threshold of the house, expecting a familiar warmth to envelop me. My wife and I had lived in this house for many years, building a life filled with laughter, love, and shared dreams. Little did I know that this day would shatter the illusions of our perfect life. I entered the house 3 hours earlier than usual, the image of her and him in our pool still replaying in my mind. The soft hum of the air conditioner seemed to mock the turmoil raging inside me. The ticking of the antique clock on the wall mirrored the beating of my heart. I moved silently through the spacious living room, and the plush carpet beneath my feet offered no comfort. Behind the sliding glass doors was the pool, usually a sanctuary of peace. Sunlight danced on the water, casting a cruel glow on the scene before me. My wife, her laughter that had once been my comfort, now sounded very different. In the pool, entwined in an embrace that broke our vows, lay my wife and her so-called brother, the man who had stood beside us at our wedding. I could not comprehend the sight before me. The pain was building, first in the form of a dull ache, and then a searing agony that threatened to consume me. My hands shook as I gripped onto the door jamb, and the cold metal did nothing to help me get a grip on the surreal reality. "James?" There was a note of concern in my wife's voice, but there wasn't a twinge of guilt in her eyes, just a fleeting panic. "What the hell is this, Lisa?" I spit out her name, the words struggling to get out of my clenched jaws. She stuttered, her attempts to explain the situation unsuccessful. "James, we can explain everything." The man in the pool, her so-called brother and now the architect of my devastation, stepped forward. His voice, once familiar and soothing, now grated on my nerves. "James, it's not what you think." "We? What do you mean it's not what I think?" I interrupted him, my anger building. "How long has this been going on? Has our entire marriage been a facade?" Silence hung in the air, eyes darting between the two of them, searching for words that could undo the betrayal. The seconds stretched into eternity, and I felt the weight of broken trust like a physical burden. Finally, her lover spoke. His words were like acid. "James, maybe you should calm down. We can talk about this like adults." I laughed bitterly, and the sound echoed around the room. "Talk? After what I just saw, I trusted you both, and you're making a mockery of everything we had." When their attempts to justify themselves stopped, I turned away, leaving them standing in a puddle of betrayal. My heart pounded with rage and heartache, and in that moment, the sanctity of our shared home crumbled into the ruins of my shattered marriage. In the days following the heartbreaking discovery, my mind became a battleground between chaos and calculated revenge. Unable to appeal to the primal instincts that called for violence, I sought solace in the power of the intellect. I needed a plan, a way to turn the tide without plunging into the darkness that threatened to engulf me. My footsteps rumbled in the empty halls of my mansion as I paced, sketching the first contours of the plot that would be my salvation. A consultation with my friend and attorney John was the first step in navigating the treacherous legal waters that lay ahead. Sitting across from him in his dimly lit office, I recounted the sordid tale of my wife's adultery. John listened intently, the expression on his face a combination of sympathy and intrigue. "James, my friend, you can't let your emotions cloud your judgment. We need a plan," he declared. And so the seeds of an insidious masterpiece were sown. John, intrigued by the audacity of my revenge, agreed to help with the legal strategy. A plan that would deprive my soon-to-be ex-wife of the financial security she took for granted. In the weeks that followed, my office became an underground center of creativity and revenge. Until late at night, surrounded by soothing darkness, I molded a fake novel. A tale of a messy divorce, cleverly woven with legal loopholes that were supposed to protect my assets. John, with his legal acumen, finalized the plan, ensuring it was flawlessly executed within the confines of the law. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over the city, John handed me a draft legal strategy. "James, it's risky but brilliant. It's like something out of one of your novels," he remarked, with a glint of admiration in his eyes. A smirk played on my lips. "Well, John, art imitates life, or in this case, life imitates art. Let's see how they like being the heroes of my story." The plan was set in motion. As rumors of a messy divorce spread in our circle, I reveled in the knowledge that those who had wronged me were now unwittingly participating in their own downfall. Months passed, and the fake affair took shape, every word in it a silent dagger aimed at the heart of those who had destroyed my world. John, true to our cause, stood by my side as we carefully crafted a story that would serve justice in a way the legal system could not. So the groundwork was laid for a story about betrayal, revenge, and the fine art of turning one's pain into a weapon. The next phase of my revenge unfolded with the precision of a well-choreographed thriller. Armed with a tracking app discreetly installed on my wife's new phone, I became an invisible observer of her secret liaisons. The digital world gave me a front-row seat to her secret trysts. I became a voyeur watching the unraveling drama of my own life. The intimacy of her stolen moments played out on the screen in front of me. I watched her drive into the arms of her lover, oblivious to the electronic eyes following her every move. The betrayal that was once private had become a spectacle for my eyes only. In my secluded office, surrounded by the silence of the night, I contemplated my next move. The unsuspecting players in my revenge plan would be tangled in the web they had created. A knock on the door interrupted my solitude. John entered, curiosity and devotion glinting in his eyes. "James, how's work on our literary masterpiece coming along?" I held out to him the latest draft of the fake novel, a clever fusion of lies and half-truths. "It's almost ready, John. Once it hits store shelves, they'll be living out their worst nightmares." The plan took an unexpected turn when I decided to involve my lover's wife, a woman with whom the fate of her unfaithful husband was unwittingly linked. Dialing her number, I masked the urgency in my voice with feigned nonchalance. "Hello, is this Laura?" I asked, practical concern audible in my tone. "Yes, who is it?" she answered cautiously. James Thompson. I hope I didn't catch you at an inopportune moment." Laura hesitated, then cautiously replied, "No, James, it's all right. What can I do for you?" I began weaving a web of lies, claiming that I was working on a novel and wanted her expertise on a fictional explosion. The trap was set, and she fell right into it, eager to help and oblivious to my pulling the strings behind the scenes. Days turned into weeks as I forced Laura to read the fake manuscript, using her innocence for my revenge. The intimate details of our encounters fueled her curiosity, blinding her so she wouldn't guess the grand deception. The stage was set for a grand reveal, a rendezvous at a hotel where the unsuspecting participants would have to face the consequences of their actions. Standing in the shadows, I watched my plan unfold. The lover's wife, unknowingly drawn into my devious web, stood on the threshold of her own downfall. The stage was set for the dramatic climax of my revenge, and I savored the anticipation of their intertwined fates. The pieces of my intricate revenge plot had fallen into place, and now it was time to execute the final act. The legal divorce proceedings loomed, promising both closure and the satisfaction of seeing my plan reach its zenith. With the divorce papers in hand, I stood outside the courthouse, the weight of the documents symbolic of the chains breaking between us. John, my loyal friend and co-conspirator, stood beside me. His gaze held a mixture of admiration and concern. "James, are you sure about this? Once we go through with this, there's no turning back," John cautioned. I met his gaze, determination etched on my face. "John, I've been living in a facade for far too long. It's time to set things right, even if it means breaking it all apart." As we entered the courtroom, the air thick with tension, my soon-to-be ex-wife and her lover were already present. The lover's wife, Laura, stood beside him, her face a canvas of confusion and anticipation. My wife, Lisa, shot me a venomous glare. "What is this, James? Another one of your games?" I maintained my composure, handing the divorce papers to her lawyer. "No games, Lisa. Just the end of a charade that you orchestrated." Laura's eyes darted between us, realization slowly dawning. "What's happening here? Why are we all in the same room?" The lover, now fully aware of the trap closing around him, shot me a defiant look. "You think you can ruin our lives with some legal document, James? You're delusional." The court proceedings began, and as the lawyers presented their cases, I watched with a detached sense of satisfaction. John had ensured that the legal maneuvering left Lisa with nothing of fitting consequence for the pain she had caused. When the judge declared the divorce final, I felt an unexpected surge of relief. It was over. The web of lies, the months of meticulous planning, had culminated in a legal victory. Lisa, stripped of her ill-gotten gains, stared at the papers in disbelief. "What have you done, James?" she seethed. I smirked, a hollow victory. "I've taken back control of my life. Something you forgot I had." As I walked away from the courtroom, John at my side, I knew that the final act of my revenge had been played out. The lover's life was in shambles. Lisa was left with nothing, and I had my closure. Weeks later, as I boarded a flight to Ghana, leaving the wreckage of my past behind, I received a text from John. "You did it, my friend. You turned your pain into a masterpiece." I smiled, knowing that the novel documenting my journey was now on shelves worldwide. The world saw me as a triumphant author, not the scorned husband seeking revenge. I had moved on, leaving behind the shattered pieces of my past, and I embraced the promise of a new beginning.